Sports. Double coverage.
Dude.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Double Coverage. We hope you're still living, loving, and breathing sport. I am Dom, and once again with the great man, Saucy, starting to get that majestic beard going. How you going, mate?
What is going on, Domma? We're back in the new year with our
Happy New Year
first
to all.
podcast. So happy New Year on that front, and to the Double Coverage family out there. Happy New Year to you as well. We kick off where we left off. Going over the latest sports news, but obviously the sport that takes the cake this week is NFL, leading into the wild card round, and obviously after that the playoffs, where the big boys come in, and the Mahomes and the other lads that aren't in the wild card, but
Packers. So
exactly
yeah,
right.
so Green Bay and Kansas are having their nice little rest at the moment. But we always got stuff on here. As we said, NBA, and as we said last week, things are always going to change week to week based on standings. We've got EPL, some big changes in the EPL. Quite happy, man. We'll definitely get to that. Then we've got, obviously,
I think we're
NFL.
both happy on that front in
I
regards
think
to the
we both
EPL.
are.
You guys are doing a lot better than us, but I think it's safe to say that Arsenal might not actually get relegated, which was a fear for a while there.
Bloody oath. And then we've got Hobby Talk, and then we'll finish off with Sauceys Smokey, as we usually do. But let's start where games have been flying out thick and fast. The NBA, as we do from the top of the show, as we mentioned last week, we will run through standings, get through some NBA news, and then obviously go through the league leaders. But a lot has changed in a week. I'm not going to give you last week's standings, but in the East this week we've got Philly on top. They're 6-1. Orlando still there in second, 5-2. Indiana 5-2 in third. Boston 5-3. We'll get to Boston shortly. New York 4-3. Cleveland 4-3. Bucks 4-3. Atlanta are 4-3. Brooklyn have dropped to ninth, 4-4. A few hiccups there. Looks like a few bumps. They're just getting it all sorted. Miami are 3-3, Chicago 3-4, Washington 2-5, Charlotte 2-5, Toronto 1-5, and Detroit are 1-6. And then over in the West, the Lakers, who were outside of the 8 last week, are now on top, 6-2. Clippers are 5-2, Phoenix are 5-2, Utah 4-3, New Orleans are 4-3, Golden State are up to 4-3 now. Portland 3-3, Dallas are back in the 8, 3-4, Sacramento are 3-4, Houston 2-3, Denver 2-4, Minnesota are 2-4, the Spurs 13th 2-4, Oklahoma 2-4, and at the bottom, without their 2 stars, Morant and JJJ, Memphis are 2-5 at the bottom of the West, Saucy. So, a bit's changed in a week, a fair bit. We did say Orlando was not going to be on top, and Cleveland. But in saying that, Orlando's been playing very well. Cleveland copped an injury. I'm pretty sure was it Garland, sore shoulder.
Yeah.
And so we didn't have Sexland for a couple games. So that's why they've dropped. But New York's been a bit of a surprise. They're playing some pretty decent basketball at the moment. And then I know you definitely want to go through this. Let's talk about it. Boston.
First of all, notable performance, Jason Tatum dropping an absolute 40 bomb. Awesome performance the other night. But I did want to mention, Domma, and I did want to say, in our NBA preview pod, you went over and you said, I feel like Jaylen Brown is going to plateau, and he's going to regress this season. Well, the numbers don't lie, Domma. The numbers lie. And through 8 games, Jaylen Brown's averaging 26.9 points on the season. He's also putting up 3 assists. And I mean, he's averaging just under 5 rebounds a game, but he's shooting the 3-point shot at 43% clip on 5 attempts per game, and he's averaging career numbers. Domma, absolute career numbers. He's up 6 points on his stats from last year's average points from last year. But, Domma, is it all smoke and mirrors?
Now, I have to somewhat defend myself. I can't defend myself from those comments because I did say that. I thought he actually was going to plateau, but I was wrong in the sense of like, I also did say that if they were to be decent, he would have to play at his career best that he was last season, or better it and take his game to the next level again. But in doing so, as we said in the preview, their team is not very good. They've got 3 guys averaging double digits. I understand Kemba Walker's injured. If Kemba Walker comes back, what's to say Jaylen Brown's going to average what he's averaging? This is all things like Boston fans you got to think about. We said your bench was dreadful. I understand you got Jeff Teague, but Jeff Teague isn't your answer. As we said last season, even in the bubble, when it was coming towards the end against Miami, we even said that you're probably best off keeping Gordon Hayward and making him play off the bench. So you got an offensive guy off the bench, and then adding Teague would have been good because then you got another guy that can score. Your bench is stacked now because you got Hayward and him coming off there.
So
we said that,
do they have Tice starting or Tristan Thompson starting?
I'm pretty sure Tice starts.
Right. So their highest scoring guy off the bench is Peyton Pritchard with average points of 8.6 a game. So they do not have a guy coming off the bench that's averaging double digits.
That's the thing, because we said that the exact same thing we keep saying about Boston is they'll stay in it because they play great defense. That's why they will always be up there. And as much as we like ragging on the East is actually pretty strong now when you look into it, but they play great defense. That's what's going to keep them there. The thing that we said that's not going to, like, if you understand Boston fans, you're probably happy about some of these young kids and this and that, but you can't win it. As simple as that. You got no one coming off your bench like that can shoot in double digits. I'm pretty sure Teague will probably average that.
Live, Kawhi's just missed the game-tying shot, and the Clippers go down to the Spurs 116 to 113, and I've just watched it there. Kawhi had the shot to send it to OT, fadeaway jumper from 3, guarded by DeMar DeRozan. Great defense. It's probably not the best shot you could have gotten with 5.5 seconds left on the clock before to get it off, but he did get a look, and he missed. So Kawhi not so clutch today.
You're not going to hit them all, but I don't know. We'll see what happens with Boston. Like we keep saying, it's very early. It's just, I understand you can gel and have a decent bench, but the bench is just young kids or a couple of years into their career, and Jeff Teague. And Tristan Thompson. And Tristan Thompson isn't a scorer.
Yep.
No,
we've spoken about this, Dom, and I think that's why I mentioned, is it all smoke and mirrors? Like, I mean,
I think it is.
Jaylen Brown, he's obviously putting up career numbers, but you know, for them to have any success this season, he has to put up those type of numbers. Like, you know, you go have a look at Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward is averaging 19 points with the Charlotte Hornets. If they kept him and even just brought him off the bench, and he again gives you 19, 20 points off the bench, think about how much better that team looks already. If you were saying that, right? So that's why why it amazed me that they traded him, and that they, you know, they couldn't find some way to keep him on, because I feel that's where they're going to get found out when it comes to the better teams or in the playoffs, is when that bench unit comes in, that second unit, when they can't have Jaylen Brown and Tatum on the floor at once, and they've only got to put one on the floor, and they can, you know, double team that other guy. I mean, even with Kemba coming back, you know, Kemba's really showed last year in the playoffs he was not really up to it. You know, he wasn't really up to that playoff basketball. I mean, does that change this year? We'll find out, you know, when they get there. We think they're going to get into the playoffs, and we think they should be in the top 3-4 seeds, Domma. You know, it would probably be underachieving if they don't get in the top 4 seeds, in my opinion.
I'll be honest with you, I don't see Boston being in the top 4 seeds.
You don't see them being in the top 4 seeds?
No, I reckon Indiana's better than Boston. as freaking ridiculous as I'm sounding now. But I genuinely reckon Indiana's
My
bench,
boy, Devontae Sabonis. Just,
Indiana's bench is exactly the same as Boston's bench. They just got randoms, but at least they got guys that can be considered as vets. They know how to win if they have to. Like,
yeah.
I genuinely reckon Indiana's got a better team. Philly's definitely better than Boston. Bucks are better than Boston. Atlanta, I reckon, are better than Boston. You got to think about Atlanta. Like, they got Bogdanovich is playing off the bench. Gallo's been hurt. He hasn't even really played yet. Rondo's still out. Like, you remember, like, just think about getting Gallinari back, another vet. Imagine if Gallo comes off the bench with Rondo, and the unit is Rondo with Gallo and Bogdanovich. Like, that, in my opinion, is a very, very strong bench to back up what they've been putting out there with Cam Reddish, who's taking his defending to a whole nother level. He's been very, very good
And
this season.
I tell you what, who's very going sliding under the radar is DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah, DeAndre.
That bloke can ball, and I think we're gonna see some improvements out of him that are gonna surprise some people this season. You know, I've watched intently some of those Atlanta games, and I will mention I put out a tweet about Atlanta's win over the Nets. It was really convincing, and it was like their defense. I mean, you got to remember KD and Kyrie both played that game, and they still got the W. And their defense, which is what I rag on about so much with Atlanta, stood up, and it didn't just stand up for one quarter; it stood up for 4 quarters. And if they can show that they've got that basketball in them, I mean, over a 7-game series in the playoffs, if they do get there, yeah, you might not be able to bring that every night, but if you can bring that, majority of the nights, or you can bring it, obviously 4 out of the 7, you can win series, and that's what's going to be the difference
100%.
because they can put up points. We know they can put up points. I got no doubt that offense is probably up there with one of the best offenses in terms of being able to score easily, and Trey's ability to create shots and create shots for himself and you draw fouls. As we've seen, he's got a little cheeky tactic which Steve Nash is not happy about at all. He was absolutely drilling the referees in that game. But it's the defense. So if that can improve this season, and what they've shown in the small sample size we've seen thus far has improved, we need guys to step up, and I think DeAndre Hunter is definitely going to be one of those guys.
And just like we said, just remember there's a couple of vets that aren't even playing yet. So let's just go to the West and have a look what's panning out there. Clippers are now 5-3 as they just lost to San Antonio. So San Antonio is going to jump up to 10th seed in the West now. But Phoenix, I'm going to say, aren't really a surprise to us. I'm going to put that out there. We thought that whole system with Chris Paul, and we kind of thought that with Booker not having to have the ball in his hands all the time, it will allow him to play more freely, which it took him a while to get going, but he has got going now. But we also said that Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton were going to look like Steve Nash and Stoudemire at the Phoenix Suns. Ayton's having a career season. He's playing very, very well. It's tough to beat when you've got a scoring big man that can actually play defense as well. So they become very, very hard to beat, teams like that. So I think they're looking pretty good so far. New Orleans, Zion's look good. He looked durable, which is fantastic for that ball club. He's averaging around 20 and 10. I'm pretty sure.
Look, they're an interesting one, Domma, New Orleans. I mean, I'm still not convinced that they could make the playoffs. I think they're going to be fighting for that 8th spot. Brandon Ingram has proven that he is going to be one of that next level talents. And they're the 2 guys that you're building around, Brandon Ingram and Zion. I'm still amazed with some of the play calling in terms of when they late in games, close games, they go away from Zion. They sort of give all the onus on Brandon Ingram making jump shots or playmaking. I think they need to change a bit of that and put more of that onus on Zion. He's such a dominant force. So yeah,
definitely.
it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they fare out. Obviously always watching Pelican games with interest to see how bad Lonzo Ball is shooting from three, first of all, and second of all, seeing how well Big Z is playing, but also Bi because I've got a couple of Bi rookies that I've stashed away. Was actually picking up I picked up one of his optic purple prisms, PSA 10. Picked that up for an absolute steal, Domma. It only cost me a lazy 100 USD, and I think the last one sold at about 400 and something. So I'll pat myself on the back with that one. But
Very
back
nice.
onto DeAndre Hunter, as I was mentioning him, I was like, you know what? I'm going to look up his card prices and just see what's happened to the man. Well, look, the card punters out there with me that they've liked the improvement of him because his base Prism Dommer last sold at 150 USD, and you could have picked one up if you were back. Here we go. Just before Christmas, you could have picked one up for 85 USD. And let's go back. Let's go back even further. Let's even go back. Well, let's just go back to November. Let's go back to a month before that, 22nd of November. You could pick it up for 70. They even dropped as low as $50. There's a few here at 50, 55, 62. So, if you really believed in DeAndre Hunter, and you think that Atlanta team is going to improve, especially after, by that point, you had seen the trades that they had made and bought in by that point. So, we spoke about these a few weeks ago. You could be picking up his card for, $90, less than 100, and, you would have already made 50% profit at this point. And if he keeps going the way he's going, I can't see why his base prism doesn't get up to around 200, which I think would be, overpriced at that point, because we'll bring it back. When I bring it back to my Smokey, that I'm going to give out later, which isn't a new Smokey, it's just a rehash of another Smokey, because I don't see a point giving a new Smokey when this card hasn't moved from when I previously gave it. So we'll talk about it at that point. But moving on.
Yeah, definitely. A few other interesting things. Giannis had a big night. He had a 43-point game. Luka's come back and he's starting to play some good basketball now. He's had a couple triple-doubles. And they're winning. Dallas is obviously moving up again. He hasn't got Porzingis. They can't win it, as we said. They need that veteran point guard. Like a Drew Holiday would have been perfect for that team. LeBron's looking pretty good.
Giannis is shooting the three at an absolutely astounding 25%.
Yeah, well, he's
he's shooting 5 attempts a game, which is the highest he's ever shot it in his whole career, and he's shooting a career worst percentage. Oh, actually, in his second year, he shot 15%.
The word of advice is stop. Giannis should know this. People in the franchise should know this. It works in from under the basket out. If that makes sense. Layups, post, mid-range, then threes. It should be mid-ranges he should be learning. Don't worry about your three. Like, you got guys on your team that hit that. So if you can threaten guys with that mid-range, as we said, we sound like broken records now. If you can threaten guys and then drive in and then kick it out to guys that can shoot, you become unstoppable. Because then people are going to have to double team you, triple team you if you can hit your mid-range. But anyway, until that happens, they can't.
Domma, and just another quick one on that Dallas team. They're starting to get some wins, but, I spoke about last season, you had Tim Hardaway Jr., and Dorian Finney-Smith having career years. Yep. Dorian Finney-Smith, in his first 7 games, is shooting 28% from 3. Last year, he shot 37%, and the year before that, he shot 31%. So his career year was 37 from 3. He's now shooting at 28%, Domma. So he's back to the old Finney-Smith that we know and love, the one that can't shoot threes. So I spoke about it. These guys have to keep up that performance for Dallas to have any chance to even win a playoff series.
And they lost Curry.
And then you've got Tim Hardaway Jr., who is, actually enhanced his game now with Curry gone.
That's the thing. You need those guys to...
That's right.
Yeah.
So...
And they haven't got Porzingis, but we'll see what happens with them. Just a couple more. LeBron's look good.
He's looked a little bit
Lakers.
sluggish in games, but it's the GOAT. Today I watched him against the Grizzlies. It was really slow, and then come fourth quarter, he just put on an absolute show.
Yeah. So he's doing well. Curry
62.
Shut everyone up the other day with his 62. I know he cops a lot of flack. He's one guy that Sauce and I will never give him flack for his gameplay because we know how good he is. So I don't understand how you think a guy like him, who's a shooter, could come back and just be useless. Like, he's a gun. Like, people say he's overrated. I disagree. I reckon he's one of the greatest shooters ever. And 30 yesterday, I'm pretty sure, and they won that game as well. He had 62, and they won that game. He's going to have a big year because, as we said,
he's going to have an MVP type season for them to make it to the playoffs. First of all,
they can't win.
They can't win it. They can't win it.
We start talking a different story if they had Klay Thompson.
That's right.
Not winning it, but potentially being a threat. And then the last thing, a bit of shit news for Aussie Dante Exum. Potential Achilles injury. His horror career in the NBA with injury is continuing. Not great. We don't like seeing anyone get injured, full stop. But especially Exum, who's had a rotten run with injury. So all the best to him. And as we end off our NBA segment, we just go to the league leaders for the week. Points per game, James Harden on top with 33, Curry with 32, Bradley Beal 30.6, Trae Young 28.6, and KD's there 28.2. Rebounds, Andre Drummond got 14.1 for the season, Gobert 13.7, Embiid 12.3, Clint Capella, another guy picked up by Atlanta, he's got 12, Valanciunas 11.7. The assists, I can't believe I'm saying that Nikola Jokic is leading the assists with 12.8. Russell Westbrook, he's averaging a triple-double. He's 11.8 assists.
Give us the favourite, the stat you gave me before, where he's 3 games he's had a triple-double and they've lost all 3 games.
4 games he's had a triple-double. They've lost 2 games that he didn't play. They won 1, lost 1. And then the game that he played and he had, I think it was like 24-12, but he only had 5 rebounds or 5 assists, they won because he didn't get a triple-double. So it's a matter of 5 rebounds or 5 assists, and they lose that game. And then the last one, blocks. Miles Turner's averaging 3.6, which is great for Indiana. And the rest of them there. 2.2 to Boucher from Toronto. They're terrible. Gobert, 2.2. Christian Wood, playing pretty good. 2 blocks a game, and Andre Drummond 1.9.
There's one thing I'd mention about Christian Wood is people have gone absolutely bananas for his rookie card. He only has 1 rookie card, and it's out of the Donruss set. And Domma, people have gone nuts over this guy. I have no idea why. He's no. He's not like an Anthony Davis type big, but I've seen his Donruss card selling for bananas amounts. Ladies and gents, just settle down. Like, the guy is 25. He's probably going to be like a strong, role-playing big man in the league. He's just a role player. His prices should not be demanding that sort of money. If you're buying it right now, you are going to get burnt severely. So don't buy. If you've got them, sell them right now. Quick, get them out the door. Buy Kobe rookies.
And the positive DeMarcus Cousins also did get text for the first time and ejected, which is fantastic. At least he's back to his old ways. But that's it for the NBA. We'll see how it pans out once again over the next week, and we'll bring it to you next Wednesday. Any updates? But coming up next, we've got some juicy EPL to get through, so stay tuned. All right, we're back. EPL Week 17. Sauce, I'm a happy man.
As you should be. Too. As you should be.
I tell you what. It could be the first time on the podcast where you and I are going to be happy talking about our teams. Let's go through the games. we're going to start with your team. Arsenal, 3 wins in a row. Is it 4 in a row now? 3 in a row. 4-0 win over West Brom. If you haven't seen it, Kieran Tierney's first goal is fantastic. He's a gun, by the way. Very good. Saka, as we mentioned early on in the season, he's a good player, and then he kind of plateaued, but then now he's starting to come out again and play some great football. Lacazette scoring. Aubameyang's actually getting on score sheets now instead of big fat donuts every week. But Arsenal's looking good. You've climbed up the table now to 11th. You're actually 2 games out of 4th. As funny as we were laughing that you were 2 games out of relegation, now you are 2 games out of Champions League contention, which is incredible. Yeah, just putting it together nicely. Crystal Palace. Yeah,
from the point where I put out, I don't know where we're heading as a club. There's one thing that has changed. What did he do? He started playing the youth. He started playing Emil Smith-Rowe, Saka. He gave some of our other guys who he weren't really getting a go, and we've looked so much better going forward. And that youth comes in there and just brings the energy and the vibrance that we need. And I'm not surprised that we're now doing better at the back than what we were before. Now that David Luiz isn't in the game, hasn't been getting starts.
Oh, wow!
I said he's been a reject from how many clubs, Domma? There's a reason every club at some point goes, we need to move this guy on. It's because over his whole career, he still does the same mistakes. He's never learnt from his mistakes that he's made previously, and he comes to Arsenal and he brings those same mistakes. So, we've started playing the other bloke. Oh, I can't remember his name. We brought him on we signed him in. I'll find his name in a sec. Here we go. Pablo Mari. We signed him on from. There we go. He's got the details here. Don't you worry about that.
Would have thought so. We only deal with facts here. So
we've signed him on from Flamengo, out of the Brazilian Serie A league, and he's come in and he's been given a shot and he's taken it with both hands. He's looked good. Him and Rob Holding seem as though that they've formed a nice relationship, and I really liked Rob Holding before he got injured last season. He was playing a lot of first team football, and I think he's probably a centre back of the future, so he's got to keep playing. But the defense wasn't really what I was worried about, even with all those problems, David Luiz and those sort of things. It was more the attack because we couldn't create chances. But what the hell has changed in the last 3 games? Youth's being played. We're not scared to go forward. We're playing. We're looking to attack more and take guys on, especially on the wings where you got Saka running past guys for fun. And it helps that our strikers are actually putting the ball in the back of the net, Dom.
100%.
There's nothing worse than creating, because when we had that barren run, we did create some chances, and our strikers had opportunities, but they wouldn't put it in the back of the net, and that doesn't help your cause. So we've changed a few things around. Arteta's mixed it up a bit. Granit Xhaka is still getting starts, right? I don't know why. We're getting wins, so I'm not going to complain at the moment. But when he gets another red card or gets absolutely turned in midfield, and then the midfielder runs past him and then it concedes a goal because of his lackluster defending or his stray passing, which he's very good at in that midfield area, then I'll be back on his case. But for now, I'm happy with how the team's going. I just hope that we can keep it rolling, and potentially, who knows, we might, with the way that the table's looking at the moment, Domma, we're 23 points. Champions League spot is, 6 points out of our reach at this current point in time. More than gettable. We're halfway through the season, so we have a strong back half. It's
definitely it's not out of reach, mate. Definitely not.
It's not out of reach.
You're playing. Confidence is huge in sport, and you've got that momentum train well and truly going now. Potentially, we see this with a lot of teams. You find ways to win now with confidence. I know my boys are doing it. United. I know Man City are doing it now. But when you lose a lot, a la what you were doing at the start of the season, uh, it's hard to find the wins. You hit posts, nothing goes your way. But all it takes, like we said, just a couple wins to get the momentum going, and it can change your whole season around. And it is still early on, as this season is very, very close. I know we're almost halfway through, but halfway through, usually in previous years, like no COVID year, like interruption, some teams are usually 10, 12, 8 points clear
Yeah.
in first position. This year, between
And
Liverpool and
we've been
United,
calling it since about 7 games in, Domma. This is going to
it's
be
going to be
a
close.
close season, and it's looking that way.
It's not going to be any blowout. It could be maybe at the end of the year if teams burn out, but I don't think so. Other games that we had, Crystal Palace, Sheffield. Palace got that 2-0 win there. Brighton, Wolves, 3-3. Brighton actually came back and pinched the draw. Everton lost to West Ham 1-0. Leicester beat Newcastle 2-1. Quality finishes from Maddison and Tielemans. They were unbelievable goals. 2-1 win there. Tottenham buried Leeds 3-0. Son Min-hyun, 100th goal for Tottenham. If you haven't seen the assist that Harry Kane gave him, he literally curls it around three players to Son in the box, and he finishes it off. It was fantastic. That connection there is a match made in heaven. Then we had, before we get to the two big games, Man City. Well, the last three games are very big. Man City versus Chelsea. 3-1 defeat for Chelsea. My prediction of Chelsea winning it all is slowly slipping away. They are now in
We
26th
thought they were
spot.
faring up good, Domma. You know, they had that early
They
form,
got so much depth.
and you know, it's not like they've been ravaged by injuries. They've just fallen off the cliff.
Oh.
And we don't know what's happened to them. It's has it been that teams have worked them out, has
Maybe,
figured it out Lampard's strategies and lacking adjustments during games. But you know that first half against Man City, you know, it was literally like I genuinely thought I was watching, you know, Man City versus like a Sheffield United. You know, Chelsea couldn't even get on the ball. They looked, you know, terrible at times.
Man.
They couldn't create clear cut chances, and then then the goal that they conceded on the counter attack, where you know from a corner, literally getting, you know,
their last man was N'Golo Kante, who went to kick it. I don't know what he was doing with that pass. Anyway, he kicked it straight to the Man City guy. He plays Raheem Sterling, but he plays Raheem Sterling against Kante as the last man, behind halfway. So obviously not offside. He kicks it right in front of him. Sterling cheated, like as that's the saying in soccer. You cheat to go to goal because he's behind the halfway line. Can't get caught offside. Sprints on. Sterling almost fluffs it anyway. Well, he does fluff it. He goes one-on-one with the keeper, takes it out to the wing of the box, stuffs it up, then takes the ping, hits the bar, and then it drops to De Bruyne. Let's be honest. Oh, no, not to De Bruyne. To someone else who shoots it, and then it drops to De Bruyne. He's not missing it when you get three bloody gimme goes at the goal. So they score that. But it's just the whole setup, like Sauce is saying. Off a corner, if you got N'Golo Kante, the smallest player on the field, is like your last man, and he's not even a defender, it's pretty poor. It's, the
just to
setup is
leave
not
yourself
there.
that wide open. You know, you're 2-0 down. You can't afford to score a goal to stay in the, you know, concede another one to go 3-0 before half time. Like, that's just unexcusable. You know, you've lost the game in a half of football.
I know. Dreadful, absolutely dreadful. They're really capitulating at the moment. We'll see what happens. People are already calling for Lampard's job.
Well,
This is what has happened.
I
This
did
is
see an interesting graphic um, on Instagram about under the Roman Abramovich era at Chelsea, Lampard is actually averaging the least amount of points of any manager ever under Roman Abramovich's Chelsea reign. So that doesn't look good for Lampard, even though he's a club legend. We've known old
yeah.
Roman over there at Chelsea to be very, very, very quick on the firing trigger.
He definitely
So
is. He definitely is.
you know,
I don't know.
I would be worried
I'm
for his
not.
job.
I'm not one for club legends. You know me. Even that United's got one. I tell you what, everyone calling for Lampard sounds like me on this podcast calling for Solskjaer. But hey, I tell you what, I'll get put in my place now because United are equal first.
With a game in hand.
But I'm only getting put into place because we're playing really well. I don't put that to Solskjaer, as I said last week. I reckon it's literally the whole culture of the club, Fernandez. They're really just gelling really well now. But we'll get to that game. We beat Villa 2-1. It looks like United's next recruit during this month of January, Jack Grealish, who absolutely dominated in that game. If you have not watched it, he dominated for Aston Villa. Looks like he will be coming to United. And in true United fashion, we could have got him for £40 million, €40 million before the season started. And it looks like we're going to have to do a good old-fashioned Pogba, where we've got to pay him about 110 million is what they want Aston Villa. And I think United are going to pay it. This just shows you how stupid our club is. And I said this, and I keep saying it, and I'll say it forever. I said it bloody at the start when we started doing this podcast and covering EPL. United are muppets when it comes to that crap. Just pay the money, get him there. If he's no good, we are going to actually get a discount on that because it looks like Donny van de Beek is going to get sold. So whatever we make on that, we just put towards Grealish. So we wasted money. You're
selling him already, Domma.
He's gone. He's gone. It looks like, I don't know what's happening with Pogba, but he's definitely going to leave. I don't know if he's going to leave in January now.
On a free transfer.
If he leaves on a free transfer, well, I'll just say.
But
I
Domma,
told
do you
you
want to
so.
risk your season? He could potentially. He's making a lot of difference coming off the bench. The way Ollie's using him. Do you want to just keep him that season? Maybe you got a chance to win this Premier League season, and you get rid of him. You get rid of Van den Beek. I understand you bring in Grealish, but having those options there could potentially pay dividends come the back half of the season when you need a game changer off the bench.
Yeah, I understand that, but my whole thing is like, I understand Pogba. He actually has been starting, but we get rid of him now. We actually make money and put Grealish in, who's not exactly on the same caliber as Pogba, but he's very good and can probably play in our system very well because he moves and carries the ball very quickly. That's what we need because that's what Fernandez does, likes to move the ball quickly. But Van der Beek's not even playing at all. So he's sitting on the bench. So realistically,
he's not even coming off the bench.
No, so you're losing a guy that's not even getting game time. Plus, and you're getting a guy that's going to play 100%. And then you're going to lose Pogba. But if we lose Pogba, at least we're going to make money as a club opposed to losing him on a free transfer and losing out.
Why did you buy him if you're not going to play him?
I honestly just think that they thought that he was going to fit the system, but he hasn't. I still am of the the belief that he does fit the system. It's just we don't play him. That's why we're not reaping the rewards of Donny van de Beek. When he played Champions League football for us, he was actually very good. But we're going to lose him. It looks like we're going to get Grealish. We're going to pay overs, but we're looking great. As a football club, we are moving the ball well. I said this a couple of weeks ago, but great teams are teams that find ways to win no matter what. And that is what we're doing now. We are finding ways to win. Eric Bailly is actually playing very, very good. United put something out on their socials saying he's dominated these last 3 games. I'm just going to put it out there. I watched him against Leicester. He was dreadful. So anyway, I don't know what they're watching. Come here and we'll give you the facts, mate. He was absolute shit house. I actually thought we were going to concede every time the ball went near him. But he played very well in the Aston Villa game. Credit to him. Credit to the boys. Credit to the club. Like getting it together. Solskjaer did say in his post-match interview that it is gelling and it is coming together, and I do agree with him. Uh, and then obviously the last game of the round, United needed Liverpool to at least draw or lose, uh, and Southampton got the win. Danny Ings finishing off a lovely goal, chipping the keeper into
Nice
the top
finish.
corner. Fantastic finish. And that puts Liverpool and United equal first, with United a game in hand. The funny thing is, Man City actually have 2 games in hand that people aren't actually talking about. And if they win those 2 games, they will leapfrog Liverpool as well. A lot of people aren't talking about it because United's right on the tails. Leicester's looking good as well. So I'll run through the table quickly. Liverpool 33 points in first. United second in 33 points. Leicester 32 points in third. Tottenham 29. City 29. Southampton 29. Everton 29. Villa also have 2 games in hand on 26, so they potentially could go to 32 points. Chelsea 26 points in ninth. West Ham 10th on 26. Arsenal are 11th on 23. Leeds 23 in 12th. Wolves and Crystal Palace both on 22. Newcastle on 19. Burnley on 16. Brighton on 14. Fulham on 11. They haven't played in a while, Fulham, as COVID outbreaks. So they've had the last 2 games postponed. West Brom on 8. And Sheffield are definitely getting relegated on 2 points. No games to run through for next week, as there is no games. This week, as there's no games for the EPL. But on a great note, to sign off the segment, as I did last week, we've got some Ronaldo news, which we love. We love giving GOAT updates. Was officially the second highest goal scorer in the history of football, eclipsing Pele during the week. I say was because Pele was quick to change his 755 career goals on his Instagram profile to over 1,200 goals now. He happened to find 500 goals out of nowhere. He was taking the absolute piss out of Ronaldo by doing that. But congratulations to Ronaldo. Messi's not too far away. He's only about 30 goals, I think, behind Ronaldo, or 20 goals behind Ronaldo. So let's be honest, it looks like those two potentially will either be 1 and 2 or 2 and 3 all time in goal scoring in the history of football. It is actually, as much as I give Messi shit on this podcast, it is a credit to actually be able to live in a time where you're getting to watch potentially 2 of the greatest players to ever lace them up. It's a privilege, and just enjoy them. Enjoy it while it lasts. But yeah, that's EPL, mate. Coming up next, Saucy. We got some NFL. We got some wild card round.
Massive.
So let's get into it next. All right, Saucy, we're back. It's beginning wild card round in the NFL. This is the preview to the playoffs. We've got some games coming up. NFC, we've got Green Bay with the bye this week, but the games are New Orleans versus Chicago, Seattle versus Los Angeles Rams, which is going to be a ripper, Washington versus Tampa Bay. That's the NFC. And in the AFC, Kansas have the bye, Bills versus Colts, which is going to be a ripper, Steelers versus Cleveland 2 weeks in a row, and then Tennessee versus Baltimore, which is just a replay of last year's playoff game where Tennessee ran over the favorites, Baltimore, in that one. So, Saucy, it's finally here. Packers and Kansas have easily been the best 2 teams. But let's have a look at some of these matchups. I know who you're going for in this New Orleans versus Chicago game, because the great man here What was your prediction?
My prediction was New Orleans to win the whole, the whole comp, mate. So to take out the Super Bowl, so I've got to stick fat with New Orleans to get the win over Chicago. And I think they can because that Chicago team is
Yeah, not
they're not the greatest. I mean, their defense can turn it on at times, but I honestly think with Alvin Kamara there, they'll be able to move the ball easily on the ground, and then that will open up the passing game. And I think they'll have a few trick plays up their sleeve, and there are ways to be able to use Hill. Obviously, you got Drew Brees back. Taysom Hill did really, really good when Brees was out. Held down the fort really well, and yeah, well, I just hope that they can keep rolling and win this week.
I think they'll get it done, Source. I really do. We'll give our tips as we go
I
through
mean,
this.
the bookies odds have got them at $1.20, so the odds are in my favour.
And gamble responsibly, as we say. But definitely, I'm going with New Orleans in this one. I know you definitely are, as you said. Next up, we have probably one of the games of the round, in my opinion. Seattle versus the Rams. Russell Wilson versus Goff. Aaron Donald versus Russell Wilson too. He's going to be running from the big fella all afternoon. But this is shaping up to be an absolute ripper. Seattle seemed to be dropping the ball a little bit towards the end of the season. Dropping the ball, not
Figuratively,
it's just saying, figuratively, literally. So they struggled a bit. Rams have picked it up. They're looking pretty good. They've had a few big wins on the way to this game.
and also a notable loss over the Jets. So they have been up and down themselves. I think this is a toss of the coin game. That offensive line for Seattle, if it can hold up and give Russell Wilson the time that he needs behind center to get those passes off, and if he's not rushed into it like you said from the big man Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald.
Donald's the quarterback. Oh, geez, we don't want him.
That's Sam Darnold.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. From the Jets. He'll be out of there. They'll have a new quarterback next season. So I'm going to go with Seattle, and that's just because I like Russell Wilson. I prefer Russell Wilson as QB, and it's all down to that offensive line for them. If they can give him that protection, I think that's where they can get it done. I am a little bit worried about their defense. It's been lackluster all season, but this is a really toss of the coin. I mean the bookies odds have got at Seattle at $1.50 and the Rams at $2.60. So Seattle is edging favorite, but I think it's a lot closer than that. I think it
is too. They've had some great games against each other throughout the season as well. I do think it is a lot closer. I'm actually going to go with the Seahawks as well. I have all my faith in Russell Wilson. So if the Seahawks do win that and our pick of New Orleans wins, they actually play each other in the second week. But the last game in the NFC, we want... barring the biggest upset, we look like we're going to get Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady in the second week of the playoffs here. Tampa Bay play against Washington. Obviously, Tampa Bay should be a shoo-in here. And it looks like it's going to set up a blockbuster game against Green Bay at Lambeau the following week, which is going to be unbelievable.
That's what we want to see. We don't want the Washington Football Club to be there. We want Tampa Bay. We want the GOAT, Brady versus Aaron Rodgers. What a sight that would be, and the fact that we're getting this matchup second round of the playoffs is even better.
It's going to be huge, and this will also be the case in the AFC. First game. Buffalo versus Indy. I don't know if Sauce wants Indy to win because that's his team. But I do think Buffalo, they look very, very good. I'm tipping them in that one. Your thoughts? Do you reckon your Colts can hold it up
I, d- I don't really
against them?
know. I mean, we've got a great defense. Can our offense fire on the day? Because that Bills defense is not too bad itself. So I mean, the bookies odds have really got us as outsiders. You know, we've got the Indies at 340 and Buffalo's at $1.32 favourites. So you know, the odds aren't in our favour, but I'm going to stick with my team. I'm going to go the Colts, and that's just solely because the fact that it's my team, not my home team,
He's
but
gone with
I mean,
Colts.
I'm going with my team. I'm not going to go against them. But
Yeah,
I genuinely think that Buffalo is the better team overall. Josh Allen is, proving that he is definitely an up and coming quarterback, or a quarterback that has arrived in my opinion. He seems to be improving year on year, which is all you can ask for from a QB.
100%.
He's already
100%.
shown that he's got playoff wins under his belt. Which is really good for a fourth year QB already, and I think
Third
his
year.
third year.
Third
So
year.
third year,
Third year.
he's in his third year. He's already got playoff wins under his belt, and leading on, I think Buffalo will have enough to get the job done. But let's just hope my Colts can make a game of it, and we can get the win. But yeah, I just think the Bills are overall better side on both sides of the ball. But
Definitely.
it's the NFL. We'll see what happens.
Exactly. Next up, we have the team that either the Bills and the Colts will be playing in the second week, and it is Pittsburgh versus Cleveland. I think it's time. I know Big Ben didn't play this week, and they did mount a comeback with Rudolph there at the helm. Cleveland only ended up winning at 23-22. This is going to be a great game. I just think this is the time where the Browns are actually going to put Pittsburgh in their place. I just got this feeling the Browns are going to absolutely smash Pittsburgh in this game. I don't know. I just got this feeling. I could be completely wrong. I just think Mayfield's going to come out. He's worked out his game this season. He knows that he's not like Lamar Jackson. He's more of a pocket guy, and he's using his weapons. They got literally everyone that they need. Landry, their defense has been good. The offense has been good. They've got the running back Chubb, who's been dominating this year. Honestly, I just think it's going to be too much for the Steelers. The only thing that's going against them is Big Ben thrives and lives for games like this. That's his makeup as a quarterback. It's not the first time he's seen a game like this, clearly. So his veteran experience could be the thing to get this Pittsburgh team over the line. But I'm going Cleveland in an absolute rout. I'm saying 3 TDs.
Wow, I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go
I-
that
I've
far.
got, I'm going 3 TDs.
That's a
I don't
big
know
call.
why. I got this feeling.
He's put that one on the tee and absolutely hit it out of the park.
And you know me, I just reckon Mayfield's not that good either. But I just reckon they're gonna.
Domma, I am completely on the absolute flip side, and I said this at the start of the season with if Big Ben can stay healthy, and they rested him up last week, and they lost by 1 point. You're telling me that Big Ben ain't at least a TD difference. Thank you very much. He's probably about a 10-point difference when you put him and Randolph together. It's literally night and day in the quality of quarterback you're putting out in the field. So Pittsburgh Steelers will win this comfortably by a TD plus. I'm going by a TD plus. This is, they had a few hiccups during the season, but let's see if they can put it together and, keep the Browns where they belong, and that's not very far into the playoffs.
Bang! He's just called it. He shut me down here. We'll definitely see. And then the last game here, we got Tennessee versus Baltimore, which is going to be a fantastic game. The winner of this plays the Kansas City Chiefs, so we can potentially get Ravens versus Chiefs in the first week of our second week of the playoffs, which will be unbelievable. I think Baltimore really worked out their identity towards the end of this season. I think they're going to be too much to handle for Tennessee. But in saying that, Tennessee have been very good on the back end as well. I'm just going Baltimore. I think they got a chip on their shoulder against these guys last year and getting knocked out by Tannehill and Derrick Henry in the playoffs. I just think they'll come back bigger and better than ever, and not for anything. As an organization, losing to a team, the hurt, you actually get to make it up again by playing that team the following year in the playoffs. Like, the stars have aligned for you to prove that you are better than them and that they just had your number on the day. Because I think Baltimore was the better team anyway. But I genuinely do reckon Baltimore will come up big in this one and get the W and play the Chiefs in the next week, which will be fantastic.
Yeah, Domma, I think it's going to be a closer game than people think. It's playoff football, so it's going to be close regardless. But both these teams have shown at times brilliance. We've seen some great wins by Tennessee Titans where they've absolutely walloped some teams, put the sword well and truly through the heart. And then we've seen games where they've just been absolutely lackluster. And we've seen much the same from the Ravens. At times they've been polarizing, and at times they've been very underwhelming. We expect both teams to get up for the occasion. If you're not up for playoff football, what are you doing in the National Football League? Because these are the moments you should be living for as a player to get to this stage of the season. This is why you play the game. So, who's going to win? Well, the bookies have actually got Baltimore as the favourites by 3 points, and I'm going to stick with that because their away record this season is really, really good. It's 6-2 on the road, and they are in their last 10 games they are 7-3 against the spread. So I'm going to take that -3 on the spread, and for them to win by a field goal, I think that's more than reasonable. But Lamar Jackson, he's got to put in an MVP type game, and he's got to step up where he failed last season in the playoffs, and if he can, then he can show that he's elevating his game to that next level. That's going to be able to get more and more playoff wins for his franchise, and hopefully one day, secure the main prize, which is the Vince Lombardi Trophy.
Bang! Very nice. There you go. So we got New Orleans. Both of us have picked New Orleans in the Saints versus Bears game. Both gone Seattle against the Rams. Both gone Tampa Bay against Washington. I've gone Buffalo against Indy. Sauce has gone his boys, the Colts. I've gone the Browns against Pittsburgh. Sauce has gone Pittsburgh, and we've both gone for the Ravens against the Titans. Looking forward to this week, man. It's going to be awesome. So stay tuned and definitely tune in to those games. But coming up next, bit of hobby talk. Got some good stuff coming up.
All right, we're back. Just me at the moment. Domma's had to duck off for to do a bit of business, and hobby talk this week. The hobby's fast moving. Card prices are altering at rapid rates. We've got, with the influx of the whole star stock market and the way that people love to follow active careers. We're seeing some absolutely crazy stuff when it comes to card prices uh, astronomically changing in the space of 24 to 48 hours after a guy or a prospect has like one good game. And the latest one that we'll talk about is Keldon Johnson Silver. First of all, his silver was going for around 500. You could have picked up his silver back before Christmas at 350, and now you've got sales of 20 on the 29th, just before the new year, at 500. Then he's had a good game against the Lakers. It's jumped up to 740 last sold, and then he's had another good game following that game against the Lakers, where I think he got 26 points, and his card price has jumped up to 890 for a Prism Silver PSA 10. Now, look, I'm all for card prices to alter, Domma, but not when it's pretty much off one game. I'll bring up the card ladder graphic here for the people out there that's viewing, and just showing the Keldon Johnson over the last 3 months, and we'll just show it over the last month, where you can see it's gone up 77%, 78%, 77.96%. So 78%, we'll round it up.
That's ridiculous.
Over the last month, and over just the last 2 weeks itself, it's gone up 72%. So, crazy stuff that we're seeing in the hobby, that, a guy can have these, one game, and his prism goes from 500 to 750, and then, another good game, it goes up, to nearly $900. This is crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. It baffles me. I mean, I just bring it back to, when you want to be left holding guys or prospecting guys, you want to be looking to get guys that are going to be the number one, number two option on your team. Is Keldon Johnson at this current point number one or number two option? No, he's not. Could he develop into that? Yes, maybe. But you need to see that that's what the Spurs franchise want. And that's what they're going to try to do. Because if that's the case, then yeah, you want to be buying him. But, those current prices, I mean, you've got Jaren Jackson's silver is only going PSA 10. I'll be bringing it back to Jaren Jackson because, when we're talking about card prices and card, how there's other influences other than just the guy's performance that impact it. Look no further than Jaren Jackson. His last sold went for 620. So you're now telling me that Keldon Johnson, pretty much based off what he done last season, which wasn't much, and then now just these two small games, he's worth more than Jaren Jackson's Prism Silver PSA 10. I would rather have Jaren Jackson. Jaren Jackson's the number two guy on his team.
Yep.
You've got Ja Morant on that team as well. Where, there's that many collectors of Ja Morant. There's that much attention on Ja Morant. You've got, he's the number one or number two guy out of that draft. Which way it's going to go in the future, we don't know. By Domma's call, it's Ja Morant is the guy. So, by having him there's going to be so much attention on that Memphis team going into the future. That's going to get a lot of attention for Jaren Jackson. Is Keldon Johnson in the future going to get that same attention? Probably not. Spurs franchise, doesn't have that number one pick to it or number two pick around it in Ja Morant. And, Ja Morant, just the draw of Ja Morant in the hobby is unbelievable. There's like so many people out there. I've seen some amazing Ja Morant collections. And I understand why. His gameplay is polarizing. He's attacks the rim relentlessly.
But, yeah.
And
the thing that you get with like a Zion and Ja, I understand Zion had everything and Ja had like word around them before they even got drafted. But the pulling ticket is the fact that Zion is the number one pick and that Ja is the number two pick. And when you have a number one pick and a number two pick, people are going to look at them in the hobby because they go, they should be the two best players. Then the way that pick that they've been chosen at, then transitions onto the basketball court and they play as if they are the 1 and 2 pick and they are that good, that's what makes hobbyists go, oh shit, yeah, this is a great investment. These are the guys I want to collect because they're playing as good as a 1, as good as a 2, if not superseding. Well, Zion hasn't really done it yet. Like, he's the number 1 pick, but he's not the best player yet. Like, Ja, before he got hurt, was playing as if he should have been the number 1 guy in that draft class. Averaging 44, he was dominating. He got injured, but he was killing it. But that's the draw of the player. They're polarizing figures. And as Sauce is saying, if Tim Duncan at the Spurs couldn't be a polarizing figure, what makes you think Keldon Johnson is going to be the next one? They had Kawhi, they got the Keldon Johnson now, but they had David Robinson, they had Tim Duncan, they had Ginobili, they had Parker. What makes you think that Keldon Johnson is going to be that guy? Like, he's good. He's a good buy and sell guy now. It's not a guy to put all your eggs in the basket for.
Well, Domma, I will just say, you mentioned that name, Tim Duncan. So I just brought him up on Card Ladder, and we go have a look at his, tops, just his paper rookie, tops PSA 10, with a pop report of 665. Last sold for 685. So you're telling me that Keldon Johnson, I understand it's his silver variant, but when you go have a look at Zion's silver pop report, which is well up over PSA 10, is well up over 1,000. We can go have a look in a second. I'll give you the exact number. The rarity on that card, that Keldon Johnson has so much potential to grow up to that point to over 1,000. So now you've got a Tim Duncan, a guy who's won 5 chips, MVPs, finals MVPs, accomplished all these great things, is now selling for cheaper than a Keldon Johnson card. Like, I don't understand the disparity. I mean, we can go have a look at his Topps Chrome, which is probably his Topps Chrome, which has a pop report of 2,328. So it's way more than what the Keldon Johnson would get, and that's up around 1,600. But you've got a paper rookie here, which is cheaper than the Keldon Johnson. That, if you're buying Tim Duncan for this price, you've got no worries because he's already finished his career. Everything he's done is already solidified. Keldon Johnson's in his 2nd season, and you're paying nearly $1,000 for a card of his and a PSA 10. Just understand that out of the 60 players drafted last season, there's going to be 5 that hold significant. Only 5 out of that whole draft, 5, maybe 8, right? That hold significant value long term.
Well, 2 of them are already set in stone, in my opinion.
Right?
So you've got what's that? 3 to 6 left. Zion and Ja, done. Potentially, Hero has taken a spot because he's still playing great basketball for the Heat. I know the Heat are struggling, but Hero's still playing really, really well. So all of a sudden, you've got either two spots left or 5 spots left of guys.
Zion Silver's up to 1,029 on the pop report, PSA 10, Prism Silver.
What's it going for?
So it's going for at the moment for 5,875 last sold.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm just saying that Keldon Johnson card could potentially get up to over 1,000 on that PSA.
Yeah, 100%.
And, 100%. Guys are now, they see that price is up to 900. They're going to grade those Keldon Johnsons. You'd just be stupid not to send it for grading for $25. And then, you bought it probably like Keldon Johnson would have been a lot like Baisley. I was buying Baisley Prism Silvers for 15 AUD, Dom. Now they're going up for about 60 USD for a raw one. So I just want to, put that, the message out there, warning that it's all good to get caught up in the hype. And a lot of this is built around Star Stock's sort of way to invest in your active players. And it's sort of the beast that they've created. That guys want to follow active careers. But at the end of the day, which
is all good. That's
which
fantastic.
is good, right? But at the end of the day, when some of these prices start getting over legends, and other guys who have so many more accomplishments, when it's all said and done, and Keldon Johnson finishes his career in 12 to 15 years, is he going to have the same amount of accomplishments as Tim Duncan?
But see, he's not. But the thing is though, with the prices getting to these highs, like the highs of the highs with these guys are going to be elite. But I'm telling you now, if you're putting your eggs in and you're buying like half your collection is Keldon Johnson's, like, oh yeah, I'm going to sell them one day. The highs are real high, but the lows on these cards are you're going to lose absolutely everything, everything. Like you're going to have to sell cards in your PC to make the money back that you've lost on this card. That's what we're trying to say. Where you've got Duncan and stuff, all these guys haven't even got to their highs yet. In our opinion, all the vintage guys are practically at their lows. So they can only get better. And Duncan's going to go up astronomically once he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. So, but the highs are unbelievable. The lows are game over. Like at the moment, the highs for Zion are great. If he gets a really, really bad injury, it could happen to anyone. I know it's just like projecting here. But his high is at 5K. His low, if he gets hurt, that could be a 50% discount overnight. That's what we're trying to say. You might make money on that 50% discount in terms of like what you paid for the card originally, but in terms of like maximizing the full profits, it could hurt you in the long run. That's why we keep saying diversify, diversify, diversify. Don't get sucked in to a lot of these players. You've got to try and get these guys before they become something. You can't just go, oh, tomorrow I'm going to go buy a PSA 10 to Keldon Johnson for $1,000. Do you reckon that's a good purchase?
Yeah,
I'm going to say no.
and that's just what I just want to tell people. Like, if I've got Keldon Johnson cards, I'm selling them. Like, I think I've got one base prism that I happen to get in a random team break, and I got Spurs, and I've got a Keldon Johnson base prism. Now, I'm going to look at it. I'm going to be like, see if it's worth grading. If it's not worth grading, I might not even grade it. I might even just sell it. The fact that I can literally get $30 for a base Keldon Johnson prism card is amazing, because you could have literally bought people were selling his base prism cards for like $2. Right? Literally. $1, $2, $3. Even Rui Hachimura. You could have bought his when release just came out, those months sort of after the release. I seen for ages that the highest people were selling Rui base prism cards was $6. They're now selling for $30, Dom.
Rui's been okay this season, but he's not. He could be one of those guys. He's actually got the potential there. He looks pretty good, Rui, but all I'm saying is, like, if you're coming into the hobby and you go, oh, this guy's killing it, like, fuck. I'll tell you one thing, like, if you know your basketball and you know your sport, a lot of it is just you're getting caught up in the hype, as Sauce said at the top of the segment. I know if you're giving me $1,000 and I know basketball, I'm not going to go, like, it is a waste. I'm not going to go waste it on a 900 USD Keldon Johnson fucking silver prism. I'm going to get that $1,000 and diversify it. It might be some second year guys that I can get their cards that I think, you know what, they'll go up in value. I might find some Ja Morants that are reasonable. I might get a couple Zions. Like, they'll go up over time to get to that value. But I'll also put in some vintage in there. I might even get some Luka, as we're starting to see, like, third year and fourth year cards of these guns are starting to even become worth something. So you start looking at some Lukas and see if you can get that stuff in there for $1,000. I'm not going to go drop $1,000 on a Keldon Johnson silver prism PSA 10. That's just dumb.
Yeah.
I'd rather have 5 or 6 cards in there. Couple vintage, couple modern. A guy that I really like in my PC. Might not even be at any value in terms of, like, growth. It's just like, I like that guy. That's why he's for my PC. But you diversify, you have some cards there that you go, okay, I can flip those. I've got this for my collection. That's it.
Yeah, and it's just being wiser, like, just being wiser with what you're doing. Like, I understand you're going to collect some guys. Like, I mean, I buy Buddy Hield cards. Don't ask me why, right? For some reason, I see a Buddy Hield card, and I just want to buy it. Do I think that Buddy Hield's going to hold value long term? No. But, like, will I buy, like, a numbered Buddy Hield from, last year that I see, like an optic card or an optic coloured card that I see that I like, or a nice action shot I see of him? Yeah, I'll buy it. Like, if it's a few bucks or whatever. But, like, that's different to going and spending pretty much nearly 1K on a Keldon Johnson rookie, when if you take that 1K and think about all of the other potential guys or legends or other stuff you could put that 1K into, you could do so much more with that $1,000 than buying that just one Keldon Johnson Prism Silver PSA 10. So it's just like, do you want to get the most out of your investment into basketball cards or sports cards? Or do you just want to buy the cards and get them? Because there's potential, if you buy that card at 900, it's very, 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 very low chance that Keldon Johnson, even though, I don't want to hate on Keldon Johnson, but
we're not hating
hating on him at all. We're just saying, in the scheme of the hobby, just think about long term, in 5 to 7 years' time. If you're still holding that Keldon Johnson card, what's it going to be? Is he going to be Spurs' next guy?
If you love him and you like PCing him and you want to spend that on the card, by all means, go for your life.
It's definitely not
Really?
net a time. No, don't buy Keldon Johnson right now. He's overinflated. If you really want to buy him, wait till he comes back down to around the $500 mark. I think he'll get back down there. But yeah, at the moment now, everyone is literally rushing. I know guys that had Keldon Johnson sitting in their boxes. They've scrambled through him, overlooked him, packed him, and sent him to PSA on a 5-day. To get him back, you get him back within 15 days, I think, on a 5-day, right? To then quickly put him up on eBay to capitalize on this opportunity. Now, if people are doing that, what does it tell you about the Keldon Johnson cards at the moment?
It's just a hype train. Make your money while it lasts.
Exactly. So we've seen this story before. We've seen it before.
Happened with Bol. Happened with Michael Porter Jr.
Happened with THT.
THT. KZ Okpala when he hit bloody 7 threes in a preseason game. Like, come on. We've got to start using our heads. We'll move on. There has been a lot of card jumps, and this is going to happen, but
this is the beast that's been created, and I think this is ripe for opportunity, and I'll just put it out there. I came up with an idea, which was to start a stock account and, make a video series on how well I can pretty much day trade on Star Stock and see where it goes. So, it's something that I think that I might do. If it's something that you people out there, you hear this and you think it's a good idea, like DM us and say, yeah, we want you to do it. Because I think it would be a really cool video series to come up with this idea to this is the beast that they've created. Let's see if I can exploit the beast and turn my $100 that I put in there at the beginning to... Well, I mean, you get $10 for free. If you use a promo code out there, there's heaps of them. You put in $5, you get $10. So you start with 15 automatically, but I'll put in 100 and just see where that takes me.
Maybe that's what you do. We'll do that. Don't worry about your NFL return on investment. We'll do a Star Stock. That'd be good. It's definitely something we can chat about and have Saucy put on a series on our YouTube channel and chuck it on our IGTV, and we'll see how we go. But some other news we've had, obviously thanks to Card Ladder for that. They've actually updated their website. They got some new merch, which looks great. So shout out to them. Great work by themselves. Cherry also, I say Cherry, is probably on Panini's website, but Cherry drops stuff straight away as soon as it comes out in terms of news. But they put up the Premier League Prism preview on their socials.
Looks really nice, Domma.
Looks very, very nice. So looking forward to that. One thing I'm going to follow up, actually, because, and I'll talk about it next week during Hobby Talk. You might have the answer for me right now before we get into a couple other things. But Topps F1, did it ever surface? It was meant to come out start of December.
Been delayed.
Delayed. All right.
Been delayed. Yeah. I've seen it. I believe I've seen. I've seen word on Instagram that it has been delayed. Where that has been delayed to 100%, I'm not exactly sure. We'll find out some more details. Write that down, Domma, and we'll share something on our Instagram about the release on it.
Definitely. A couple other things. Lil P on the news in Miami. Saucy give him a bit of a rundown there, so that he got an interview.
Yeah, he got an interview about obviously the resurgence in sports cards over the last 12 months. You know, not for anything. I mean, I wish I lived in the US and had the access to stock that Little P had, because I would probably be one of the best breakers in the game. But unfortunately, I don't have the access to stock that Lil P has, nor do I have the connections that he's made through his days at Pull Wax. But good on him.
Awesome.
I mean, he's only 18 or 19, Domma, 18, I think. And, I mean, he's killing it. He's making more money than any 18-year-old could ever think of. I mean, other than, you know, obviously Insta famous and TikTok famous people. But, you know, breaking cards, in terms of breaking cards, he's breaking it with the best of them.
But he busts his asses along with a lot of breakers out there, man. Like, a lot of them. If I could list them all, it'd be too long to list. I'm just saying him as one because he was on.
Yeah,
on
breakers.
The news, and it was good to see the hobby actually get publicized, which is good. Like we always said, we always want people in the hobby. It's fantastic to have. But yeah, it is hard work. A lot of people said, yeah, breakers, there's no work in it. Well, okay, if you're staying up and working 14 hours on a stream and you're selling stuff and you do that consecutive days in a row, potentially some people do it 5 days a week, and you think it's like light work, but you got to know your product, you got to know the cards, you got to have people to buy your product. You got to ship your cards.
If you're a shit breaker, people are quick to jump on you. You know, if you don't know the product, if you don't know those sorts of things, you know, you got to make sure you're informed. And
But there's a lot of work in it, especially if you're by yourself, like shipping cards, knowing the product, getting the product in. There's a lot of work, long hours trying to break stuff. So coming up with new ideas outside of just doing personals for people. So obviously you've got to list your breaks, and there's a lot of work involved. So credit to everyone out there that is a breaker, that put in the hard work. Hats off to all of you. So, and also good stuff for Lil P getting out there on the news. A few other things. Tyson Beck, we love him. We love him dearly. He just dropped his part 5. He's going to be working with Donovan Mitchell, which is fantastic stuff. We look forward to seeing what he produces there. He killed it. 2020 dominated. He did really, really well. And wish him all the best for this year. We will try and get Tyson on the podcast. I'm putting it out there. We will try and get him on. Tyson's been great with us with our communication. It's just obviously we'll try and work out a time that suits both of us, and we'll try and get that sorted for you. We've got a few questions. Obviously, we want to ask him. And if you've listened to our podcast with Buster and Sean Mike Kelly, you will understand the few things that Sauce and I have started to hint about card artists. Just putting it out there to people with a bigger following to help them understand also that there's potential for a lot of big things down the track, not just in sport, for people in different genres around the world. And the last thing, we spoke about it briefly on the live. Saucy was very modest, but he finally beat the sneaker flippers to buy some product during the week.
Can I get a hell yeah?
Hell yeah. Some NFL Prison Blasters, NFL. Got dropped on Zing and Hot Commodity on his Saucy's collectibles. He actually, as Saucy always says, he's not the greedy one to go out and buy all the product. He will let people know. He got on there and he was just like, oh, I'm getting through to checkout, and it was actually working, which for once is a bloody surprise. And then he put it out on his
IG story.
Insta story. Someone that flipped sneakers but also bought from Sauce in the past saw that, dropped it in a Discord group, and then in a matter of 5 minutes it was all sold out. So that was great. But good work by you, mate. Like, putting it out there. Honestly, it's a plug for yourself because you got it out there. So and actually help some people get some product.
Yeah. So I mean, and this is always going to be the danger with these guys, but not for anything. If they don't do it, someone else will do it. It's just a matter of, these guys now with the sneaker flippers, especially the ones that have been doing it for a while, they've got bankroll to burn. They've got, in the sneaker flipping game, it's about buying the sneakers, flipping them as quick as you can for whatever the profit is, whether it be $20, 30, 40, 50. Sometimes you get lucky with sneakers and you can make 100 and $150 off a pair, depending on the type of sneaker or whatever. But for them, it's all about a numbers game and about keeping that money on rotation. So when it came up the opportunity that they could pre-order these boxes. Boxes are supposed to come out in about 13th. They're supposed to be released here in Australia, even though they're already out in the US. But our retailer of Zing is going to get them on, release them on the 13th. And they know that they can buy these boxes for $50 and then, potentially sell them on eBay for 125. To them, that is absolutely, their eyeballs are absolutely rolling with dollar signs, and they're going to buy out as much stock as they can. I've seen in the Discord heaps of screenshots of purchases. I didn't share it into the Discord because, I have no interest sort of in the sneaker guys coming in and stealing, not stealing stock, but buying out the stock. But at the end of the day, I can't stop someone else. I'm not in charge of Zing, and there's nothing stopping me or stopping them from searching it and finding it themselves. It just happened to be that I was quicker that day, and I secured my bag first, then I shared it. I actually also DM'd it to a person before I shared it, so that they could potentially get some as well. Next time I might just DM it to a few more people before I put it up on my story, and just wait 10 minutes and give them a chance to buy some stock. But as soon as I put it up my story, it was then, it was game over from there. And the funny thing was, it sold out on Zing, but then I went over to EB Games and it hadn't sold out. So then I shared another one for EB Games, and then that share from EB Games also ended up in the Discord as well. So then it got bought out from there as well. But I'll take the win. I secured quite a few boxes. I'll probably, I'm thinking, I bought 15 boxes. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to rip 5, sell 5, hold 5. That's probably going to be my mantra on that, because, by selling 5, I'll instantly make back enough money to rip 5, plus a bit of profit, and then the other 5 will just go into storage, and, I'll bring those out in 12 months, maybe 14 months, maybe 2 years, when obviously one of these guys is doing real well, like Burrow, Tua, or Herbert. There'll be so much demand, and those prison blasters will be, $300 mark. And, I can make some nice coin then, selling 5 of them, making $1,500. That's, what dreams are made of. So, that's my mantra. I always say with any product I buy, I'm always going to buy and rip some, but I sell some to mitigate the losses of potentially ripping and opening absolutely nothing and getting jack shit. So to do what I do is I sell a fraction of what I buy so that I mitigate the losses.
Bang. Done.
And one thing to note before we end Hobby Talk and jump over to Sauceys Smokey, where I'll just give a quick Smokey of a card which hasn't gone up yet, so you should still jump in and buy. Instagram account, Card Porn, it's called. Domma, give them a tag and share them out.
Definitely will.
They have good videos on there about people opening and hitting amazing stuff out of packs and things, but also they do really good work in helping others and informing them about fake slabs and what they look like and what to look for in regards to PSA, BGS. So, if you haven't viewed their page and seen those things, I think you should go over there and have a look. Especially, Domma, because it's came out this week that there are more and more BGS fake slabs surfacing. And they're getting better and better. And still, Beckett is not answering or giving us any statement or giving us any assurance. So day by day, Beckett is getting less and less credible, and this is not good for the hobby. We need that grading competition. We don't want it to become monopolized with PSA. That's probably one of the worst things that can happen for the hobby.
You want diversity.
So, please, Beckett, do something or say something. You got to be better. You can't just. There's more and more of these fake BGS slabs popping up, and still,
Oh,
you still haven't given a press release. You still haven't given us
that
anything. Buy
I,
wisely on Twitter. Tweeting out that is not good enough.
yeah. I don't really. Well, we can get into it if you want to, but it's not going to be much to get into. But just on that, I know we spoke about this in terms of like it's always going to fall on the company, then on the buyer. We said this previously when it started happening. So that was like what, a month ago, 2 months ago. But just a scary thing that I've been seeing. As you know, all social platforms are doing it, but I've actually started seeing stuff on TikTok now with people making videos about like and just laughing at the fact that cards are graded and are worth so much money because they're in a Beckett slab based on all the stuff that's been happening with fake slabs. They're literally starting to laugh and go, "Oh, why is that card like what?" The card was a LeBron Jambalaya rookie, the oval shaped card, and it was centered poorly, and it happened to be in a Beckett slab, and people were like, "Oh, the card's centered poorly," and on top of that, it's in a Beckett slab. Ha ha ha! And I've seen a fair few of those posts, not on that card, but different cards. Everyone laughing that cards are now graded in Beckett slabs. Uh, so you better act quick smart because when people start laughing at people that start grading their cards with Beckett, your credibility is going to get flushed down the toilet very, very quickly. And I'll tell you what, your turnaround time for cards will go down because no one will be using you. So legit, that's the thing. And like Saucy said, we do not want um, Beckett to fall out of favor in the hobby. They're such a major part of the hobby. As much as everyone grades with PSA, the history with Beckett in this hobby needs to be kept within the hobby. Like you don't want to lose such a major integral part of the sports card / card hobby story because Beckett's done so much for it. But you need to come out and you must say something because it's not looking good. And these people got a fair few followers, and them getting heaps of views and heaps of likes is not a good thing to transition into into the hobby. I look at it and go, not the greatest thing. So, as Saul said, make a good business decision, come out, make a statement, and try and shut down the people making your slabs, like fake slabs. Do something about it. So yeah, that's all I got to say on it. It's not good.
Yeah, so and that's what I'll just say. Bring it back to go visit Card Porn's page,
Yeah.
and just make sure you're aware of how to identify these things, so that even if you are buying off a what you think is a credible source on eBay and they've got good positive feedback, they themselves might not even know that they're selling a fake slab, because some of these fake slabs are getting pretty good, Dom. So yeah, it's a tough one. Like, and it just makes you hesitant to buy these slabs, um, and it's just rough. And you're just seeing the values of BGS dropping. I'm seeing people more and more people cracking BGS 9.5s to send to PSA, more and more and more. And that's
Not
what we
good.
don't want. We don't want people see the money signs and they want the PSA, but also now with the fake slabs, people are going to be like, oh, I don't trust Beckett, so I'd rather just send it PSA just to be assured. Because PSA actually give you a guarantee, whereas Beckett, they don't. So there's
Yeah.
also that factor. Um, they give you a guarantee that, it's they give you some sort of guarantee.
It's authenticated and graded
Yeah,
by professionals.
and
Yeah.
whereas Beckett don't, they give you the grade and that, and they slab it, but they don't give you no guarantee.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
So we'll see what transpires.
we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Definitely. Well, that's it for Hobby Talk. Till next week. But coming up next, mate, the most anticipated segment, Sauceys Smokey. Stay tuned. All right, we're back. The most anticipated segment of the show, Saucy Smokey. Hit him with the refresh button this time. Not a newie, not a freshie, a refreshy. So get into it, mate. What have you got?
Yeah, so I'll bring up this guy, and people are gonna be like, oh, he's back telling us to buy this guy again. He's one of my favourite players to buy, and I've already spoken about him on this podcast before. I brought him up in the previous segment. But this guy here, I'll bring him up. I'll bring up his card ladder graph, PSA 10. Jaren Jackson Jr. I'll just say it again, right? When you've got all of these guys coming up in price, you know, you've got Keldon Johnson now surpassing Jaren Jackson Jr. You've got the likes of Darius Baisley now getting up to Jaren Jackson Jr. range. When you compare those two guys, you're genuinely telling me that Darius Baisley and Keldon Johnson are going to be better than Jaren Jackson Jr. A guy who's already the number 2 on his team. He's the number 2. Ja Morant's number 1. He's number 2. Right? He's base prison PSA 10 Dom with a pop report of 1,064, which could grow tremendously, but who knows, because maybe a lot of guys didn't look after those base prisons back then, so it might never get to as high as Lucas and Trey's. Because people didn't really feel like they wanted to grade Jaren Jackson, because they may have thought he's not going to be anything, so therefore they didn't look after the cards. They just chucked him in a box, or scuffed him. But his last sold was for 197, but the ones selling preceding that have all been around just the 180 mark, between 170 180. Now, I posted about this on around about the 22nd of December, so that was around about when this one was sold, which is 145. Now, in that time, it's only gone up about, 40. So in the last 3 months, it's only gone up 39%, which is not that much. But we'll take that last sale sort of out of it, because that's been the first one that I've seen's been up near the 200. All of them recently have been all around the 180 mark. Very rarely any getting past the 180. I'll be very interested to see the next sale on the card, whether it is back around that 180. But I think you should be able to pick one up at around that price. Now, he's at that price and he hasn't played a game, Domma.
Yep.
So what happens, because we've seen what happens with Keldon Johnson. We've seen what happens with, other guys, SGA when he's played and hit a game winner, and Keldon Johnson when he got 26 points and 24 points the game before. What happened? His cards just went bananas, right? So you're telling me he hasn't played a game, his cards haven't moved in price. You buy his card now. He comes back, he drops 25, drops 30, maybe does like last season where he dropped 7 3-pointers in one quarter. You tell me, name another 7-footer that can do that. There's not many out there, right? That could drop 7 3-pointers in a quarter and shoot freaking, I don't know what he went, 9 from 13 for the game or something like that. He just has to have one game, and you can flip this card for another. It could literally go up to over 250. If you go back, I haven't got the numbers before or leading up to the bubble, but I believe he was well up over 200.
Have you got his silver? I'm interested to see the silver because I want to compare it to Calvin Johnson because he's already better than Calvin Johnson.
Well, he's selling less than Calvin Johnson's. His last sold was 622. I bought.
That's what I'm saying. He's a lot better because his second year, if you look at his stats in comparison, Calvin Johnson's second year stats to JJJ second year stats, JJJ was averaging like 20 and 10
Well,
in his second
yeah,
year, which is unbelievable.
but
Those
he was
stats,
just he was just under, and
but it's unbelievable. But people have to understand that's a second. If you average bloody 12 and 10 as a big man in your NBA career, that's fantastic. You'll go down as, oh, he was a good player. But if you're the throwaway line, if you know basketball, people always say that guy was a gun. He was a 20 and 10 guy as a big man. I know you've probably heard that saying before.
Yeah.
A lot of people say that. Oh, he was a 20 and 10 guy. He was a gun. So for him to get around those stats in his second year is unbelievable. And he's already, as Saul said, it's him and Morant's franchise.
And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you know, like Keldon Johnson, we don't even know if Spurs that like he's going to be the man at that franchise. Whereas at Memphis, you already know who the two guys are. We are building around these two guys, right?
Well, you're going to see because potentially now, when in Morant, they reckon. Oh, when did they reckon Jackson was going to get back around towards the end of Jan or start of Feb? He's going to come back when Morant comes back. Give or take. Because Morant was 3 to 5 weeks. They might come back at exactly the same time and you'll see what happens with that team. I guarantee you right now, unless they want the bottom pick, they're not finishing last in the West.
Well, I'll just give you I'll just give you an interesting comparison because I've said this to people out there, and some people might criticize me, some people might think I'm crazy, but I've likened Jaren Jackson.
Oh, here we go.
To potentially being on the level of Anthony Davis, right?
That's not okay. Fair enough. You're not that crazy.
Now, Anthony Davis in his rookie season, 13.5 points. He averaged 13.5 points, right? Jaren Jackson, rookie season, 13.8 points.
Oh.
Right? Second season, averaged 20.8 points. Jaren Jackson, 17.4 points. But Jaren Jackson only played 28.5 minutes per game. Anthony Davis, 35 minutes per game because he didn't foul as much. And that's where I bring it back to. Jaren Jackson cannot foul, play 35 minutes a game. There is literally no reason why he cannot average 25 points a game. I want to see him be averaging 23 plus this season, taking that next step. But, think about that. In his third season, if he's getting that 23 points a game, well, Anthony Davis averaged 24.4 points in his third season. So if he's getting around 23, 24, 25, what I'm talking about, you can't tell me that he's not on that same trajectory if he keeps expanding his game, because that happens year after year. The more preseasons you have, the longer you're in the NBA, you work on something every offseason and you get better and better and better. Jaren Jackson Jr., in his first 2 seasons, you got to remember, Anthony Davis never really started shooting the three until his 4th season in the NBA, right?
Yeah.
In his first 3 seasons, he did. In his first season, he shot 0%, so he didn't make one. In his second season, he shot 22%. In his third season, he shot 8% from 3, right? But that was barely on an attempt a game. Like, he didn't even have one attempt a game, right? Now, you've got Jaren Jackson Jr., who on his first season, 3-point percent, 35. 3-point percent on his second season, 39. And that's on 6.5 attempts per game.
That's pretty good.
A good Domma. That is elite level 3-point shooting.
That's unbelievable.
Right? This is what people need to understand. The fact that he's got already that range in his second season. And if you've watched him previously, if you go have a look at his game, he's not a one-trick pony. He's not a, catch-and-shoot guy from the three. He can get the ball on the block and put a move on a guy and finish with a hook. He can do a pull-up and hit a corner jumper. He's got that moves. I've seen him drive into the basket. As the game comes, he expands. He's only 20 years old, 21, right? Ladies and gents, I'll just say, the needle has not moved on his card, especially his prison base card. It's moved a little bit, and now I think that's just a lot to do with, there was a very low part in the market and everything sort of got up. But his prices have got up, and then they've just been going sideways. And because he hasn't played, there's been no interest on him. So there's still time to buy this card before he comes back. And once he puts up a 30-point game, well, I'll go, I told ya, you should have bought it then.
Sauceys Smokey.
That's my Smokey.
Right there. I reckon he's going to be very good. I'm actually looking forward to when he can come back and him and Morant can play together. I actually really, really like John Morant. So I love him.
And I'll just bring it back to
I haven't even got any of his cards, and I love
hobby relevance, Dom. Hobby relevance, it's a term that people say. You need to have hobby relevance to have collectability long term. And what better way to create hobby relevance around Jaren Jackson than being paired with Ja Morant?
Correct.
Arguably the most hyped, him and Zion, one of the most two hyped guys to ever come out of a draft since freaking, obviously, you can't even say they were that hyped leading up, leading up to the Luka trade draft class. They weren't really hyped the way that Ja and Zion were hyped. Correct. They were hyped after people seeing what they could do.
Let's have a look here, because I want to bloody... When was this? I want to see when this kid is coming back. What is this?
Ja Morant.
NBC, Roto World. I don't even know if this is bloody... First 2021.
So, yeah. That's why I'm just going to rehash the Smokey. I'm not... there's no point me telling you to buy a new guy. And at this point in time, when we were telling you to buy cards, you pretty much could have bought... as long as you chose wisely, you could have been buying pretty much anyone and you would have made money now.
100%.
So now it's about just
100%.
refining. Now it's in that season. Don't get caught up in the hype. Don't have a FOMO moment and, buy a card at the top. Because, at some point you're just going to get burnt on one of those and it's going to leave a salty, salty taste in your mouth.
I agree. Completely agree. No time it says when he's going to come back.
They look, most said 4 to 6 weeks, but I guess it all depends on, he's got to make sure that explosiveness and the landing ability is okay on that ankle, especially the way he plays the game. So, and...
No, I mean for Jackson Jr., because you know what could happen? Jaren Jackson could return before Morant. And
then he's the number one.
He's the number one. This is what we're saying. The thing about those two, I don't know what their relationship's like off the court, but on the court, they really can turn it on, and one can help out another if one is struggling on the night. If they're both on, mate, they're going to be very hard to beat if they're both on. Borderline, bloody close to impossible, mate, because their team's not that bad, Memphis. I actually expected them to be very good, but they're at the bottom. You think about it. They pushed the Lakers today, and their two best players didn't even play.
That's what I'm saying, Domma. They're like, overall, the team in general is not that bad. You bring back those two guys, they can cause a lot of trouble for a lot of teams. And they just missed out on 8th spot last season. First season of Ja Morant. And he came back this season like literally looking like he was going to win MVP in those games, first few games.
And Jackson got hurt in the bubble. What was it, 3 games in? He got injured.
And in those 3 games in, Domma, he was averaging 25 points a game. And he wasn't fouling as much, and he was playing over 33 minutes a game or something. So it's what I'm talking about.
They got Brandon Clark. He's a good player. I'm just looking at their roster. Like, Grayson Allen is injured. I actually reckon Grayson Allen's all right. He can actually hit a 3. That's what they need. They got Valanciunas, Justice Winslow, another guy coming back from hip surgery. He's a great defender. Great defender. Morant. Tyus Jones is okay. I've got his rookie, if you want a Tyus Jones rookie. Gorgie Jang. not bad. But really, the team is pretty average. I reckon they'll build around like Grayson Allen at the S guard, Moran at the point guard, Jaron Jackson there as the power forward. Yeah, is he power forward, small forward, power forward, and then they got Brandon Clark, who's not a bad player either, and then they'll just go from there. But he's 21 years old, Jaron Jackson Jr. He's got a long, long, long way to go. So we'll see what happens there, mate. Good Smokey. Get on Jaron Jackson and any other Smokey that Saucy's given. They've been doing pretty well. Maybe hold off just on the Wiggins one at the moment. But it's gross. But that's it. Keep living, loving, and breathing sports. Double coverage. I'm Dom with the great man Sauce. Peace.
Peace out, ladies and gents.
Thank you for tuning in. Please don't forget to leave a review on the Apple Podcasting app. Also, follow us on socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. Talking all sports. Double curve.